Ike Ibeabuchi was a heavyweight contender back in the late 90s, early 2000s, that type of time frame. And by people such as myself and many other people who have been watching boxing for several decades, he was regarded as one of the biggest wastes of talent they've ever seen in boxing. Ibeabuchi came from nowhere. He's a Nigerian guy. He came from nowhere. He exploded onto the heavyweight scene by beating David Tua, who was an extremely, very highly touted prospect at that point in time. David Tua, he was seen as the new Mike Tyson / Joe Frazier. He was running through people. He was scoring loads of devastating knockouts. Ibeabuchi came along and he was supposed to be a tough test for Tua, but he was not supposed to beat Tua, but he did beat him. And it ended up being a fantastic 12-round war between the two of them, where they both showed tremendous chin and tremendous heart and tremendous strength. Basically stood toe-to-toe for 12 rounds. Very good fight. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. But as good as Ike Ibeabuchi was, and he was a very strong heavyweight, he was I've said this before, but to me, stylistically and ability-wise, he was almost a cross between Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson. He was more similar to Holyfield, but he had elements of Tyson to him as well, particularly when he was fighting taller opposition, and he hit a lot harder than Holyfield and was naturally heavier. So yeah, as talented as he was, as well as highly touted as he was, he also was the first guy to stop Chris Bird. There was another one. Chris Bird went on after that to defeat Vitaly Klitschko. Obviously, Klitschko retired with an injury, but still, Klitschko never came close to stopping him, whereas Ibeabuchi banged him out of there in, 5 or 6 rounds. So he was doing very, very well. The problem with Ibeabuchi is that he was completely crazy. If you don't know the backstory of what led up to Ibeabuchi being incarcerated, because he did get incarcerated for sexual assault and a bunch of other charges, if you don't know what led up to that, then go read up on it. All right, the guy was mentally unhinged, attacking sparring partners and doing all types of stuff. He tried to commit suicide with a child in the car. The guy was totally off it. He said that him and his mom were being harassed by spirits. Yeah, this is a guy who stood up at a meeting of TV executives and promoters and stuff like that with a knife and started, swinging a knife around and demanding that everybody call him president. He once had to be physically restrained when he refused to get onto an airplane. He started screaming and shouting, saying the airplane was going to crash and that, there was spirits or whatever or something. I mean, the guy was crazy. Now, he did about 15 years in prison and he just got out in the past few months. He's, I think, 42 or 43 years of age now. Everybody assumed that, most people assumed he would probably get deported, but apparently he's so far successfully managed to resist or fight deportation back to Nigeria. And most people also thought his boxing career would be over, but Ike has actually been training, as you can see, and he's intending to come back. He says he's not impressed with any of the heavyweights. He can knock them all out. And he's been watching boxing in prison all these years. He said he knew he would come out and be fighting again. Now, for a 40-something-year-old man who's just come out from 15 years in prison, he looks in pretty good shape to me. All right, not fantastic shape. Looks like there's a slight bit of man boobs there going on, but still very good shape for a guy who's come out of prison. I mean, if you're going to spend 15 years away from the sport, one of the worst places you can spend it is in the penitentiary. Let's not get that confused. Terrible quality food. God knows how many times he's been in the hole. God knows what type of lockdowns there were in there. 20-hour lockdowns, 16-hour lockdowns. I mean, spending a long time in his cell. Some prisons in the United States do have boxing facilities. To my knowledge, the institution that Ibeabuchi, or the facility that Ibeabuchi was incarcerated in, didn't have boxing facilities, or at least it didn't have any type of boxing program in there, as far as I'm aware of. So to just be rotting away in prison for 15 years, to try and come out in your, early mid 40s even, and hope to be successful, even hope to get in any type of fighting shape, is a very, very tall order indeed. But he seems, at least aesthetically, to be in fairly decent condition. He says he weighs about 250 pounds. But anyway, I say all that to say this. No sooner has this guy got out of prison and is talking about fighting again. Bob Arum was even talking about putting Ibeabuchi on one of his cards against Andy Ruiz. No sooner has all that happened, Ibeabuchi has apparently violated his probation already. And it is a lifetime probation. Imagine that. He's violated already. They say that he was supposed to partake in some type of therapy, or I think psychological therapy or treatment or whatever, and he's refused. That is not Ibeabuchi's style. So what's going to happen? Will he go back inside? Will his career be over? We know he's batshit crazy. So he's not thinking like me and you. Personally, I would like to see if he has anything left at all, because I loved watching Ibeabuchi fight back in the 90s, in the late 90s, early 2000s, before he got locked. I love watching him fight. And there's plenty of other older heavyweights around at the moment. Amir Mansour, he's from the same generation as Ibeabuchi. I think they're around the same age. Why, them fighting, that would be good. I'd watch it. Shannon Briggs, he's also the same type of age range as them guys. Yeah, why not? Put all the old guys in their early 40s together and let's have a little tournament, man. Throw Tony Thompson in there. Why not, man? I'd like to see it. I'd watch it. Especially for Ibeabuchi. Imagine Ibeabuchi versus Amir Mansour. Mansour actually said, I think it was in the post-fight interview after he beat, God, who was it that he beat? Was it Maurice Harris? It was either Maurice Harris or Dominic Gwynn that Amir Mansour fought. And in a post-fight interview, he said there's only two fighters he's ever ducked in his whole career, and one of them was Ike Ibeabuchi. Well, he may have the opportunity to face Ibeabuchi and not duck him this time. We'll see. If Ibeabuchi don't go back to the big house. Oh, man. Let me know what you think about Ibeabuchi. Would you like to see him fight again? Have you got any information? Is he going back inside for violating? Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think of him in his prime as well? All right, it's your boy Hatman. I'm out.